So as I said, Enigmatic Estimation is a game all about estimation. It will go through 3 rounds of estimation. It's a great way to introduce estimation to teams. Each of the rounds scale in complexity. We have My Morning Routine. This is a game all about MVP. My understanding is that MVP is widely misunderstood, and this is something I've very much experienced with the teams and stakeholders I've worked with. So this is a great game to introduce what MVP really is through contextualizing someone's morning routine. We have DIY Dino. This is a game about definition of done. We have the virtual name game, a game all about context switching and multitasking. I often ask people, can they multitask? And their response is, yeah, of course. Or there might be a stereotype about the fact that women can multitask better than men. Actually, humans are terrible at multitasking. It's just constant context switching, and it's actually very inefficient. And if I were face to face with people right now, if I were face to face with you guys, I'd ask you to hold your hands out like so, and in your left hand we'd be playing a continuous game of rock paper scissors, and in our right hand we'd be playing a continuous game of a continuous thumb war, right? And trust me, try and do both at the same time, it doesn't work. Just like when you get people to do this task, you say pat your stomach, rub your head, and vice versa. We struggle with it because that's trying to do 2 different activities, engaging 2 different parts of the brain at the same time. It just doesn't work. So I'm just seeing there some comments in the chat. Dan, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on that, so I'm aware of what people are sharing. We have 20 attendees. Could you also reshare the Miro link, please, Dan? That's okay. The chat's loading quite slowly for me for some reason. So yes, virtual name game is all that context switching. And last one, Monster Workshop. This is actually it's a very simple Miro board that I've discovered that I think is great as an intro exercise, a warm-up, or you could even use it as part of a retrospective. So it's a bit of a mix-em-up style game. Very simple to use. So what I'm going to invite you guys to do now, and the way you'll do so is you'll dot vote using the little coins to our left-hand side here. If you ensure on the left-hand navigation panel of Miro that you've got the little blue cursor selected, it should be the top icon at the top of that left-hand nav panel. If you ensure that's selected, then you should be able to drag and drop these coins, and this will allow you to vote on the game you most want to play. So feel free to begin dragging and dropping your coins accordingly now. So lots of quick votes so far for Enigmatic Estimation.
Hey Chris, how many votes do you get?
You get 2 votes each, folks. 2 coins. All right, so we have to do some math here. We have to do some counting. Enigmatic Estimation clearly in the lead, and My Morning Routine possibly DIY Dino. We'll ultimately start with the game that gets the most votes, and we'll move on to a game afterwards. It all obviously depends on time as well. We do aspire to try and get through 2 games, but if 2 longer games are chosen, it can become a bit of a challenge, but we can see what we'll do. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Shout out if I'm wrong. I'm clearly seeing Enigmatic Estimation having the most coins here. Maybe not.
Yeah, with 15.
15?
Yep.
All right, Enigmatic Estimation it is. So what I'd like you guys to do is if you click, there's a little space invader next to Enigmatic Estimation. If you click the arrow there, it will take you to the place on the board that we're going to be playing. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everyone to there anyway. So very simply, as a way of introducing estimation, I'm going to ask you guys in complete silence, no conversation amongst yourselves. I'd like you to arrange those animals there on the post-it notes from smallest to largest without conversing with one another. So there's going to be lots of people moving these around now. Go for it. Let's see how you get on. Can you do it in silence? You can see the arrow at the bottom. showing smallest to largest. Try and arrange it along that line. All right, so do we think we're done? Are we happy with that? Are we happy with that? Any disagreements here?
I'm okay so far, I think.
Yeah.
Chris.
All right,
Rabbit and
so-
cat could be a bit debatable.
I mean, yeah, you could debate that there might be some rabbits larger than some cats, but in general, would a cat be larger than a rabbit? Probably so.
And the whale as well. What type of whale?
Fair point. Yeah, could be smaller whales. Maybe not. Yeah, could be smaller whales that might be smaller than a giraffe. It depends on the age, I guess. So the next question I've got is, was that easy?
It was, isn't it?
Why was it easy?
Because it's relative.
It's relative. These are things that from a young age we all grow up knowing tangibly the size of them. But what happens when things are more unknown? So if I introduce the following 4 things into the mix, so right in the middle of the screen now you can see axolotl, capybara, platypus, lemming. Where would they go in the scale?
What on earth is that?
And you may now talk. How would you guys range those compared to? Does everyone know what these are?
No.
A capybara is like a giant guinea pig.
Yes, it is. A capybara is like a giant guinea pig, way bigger than a cat, depending on the type of cat you're talking about. What about an axolotl?
Axolotl, is that like a newt? Is that like a newt?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a small Mexican pink, like newt lizard creature, amphibious.
But here, is that right, Axel?
Probably between a bee and a hamster.
Axolotl, is that right?
Axolotl, yeah. And then platypus. Who knows what a platypus is?
It's like a beaver with beak.
It is an aquatic mammal that sweats milk, has poison, and lays eggs. Really strange. But it's size-wise, they live in Australia, and size-wise, they are, around that bigger than a cat, definitely smaller than a capybara. You could fit a platypus on your hand if it crawled over you. Again, depending on size. So again, where was the complexity, and where did the complexity come from? And with me introducing these new animals.
I think we don't know what they are.
Not knowing what they actually were.
Yeah, so we had some people didn't know they were. Some people did know what some were. And how did we come to a consensus? We conversed about it. We shared experiences. Just like if you were estimating a user story in the software delivery world or otherwise, teams have diverse ranges of experience. So someone might have worked in that area of the code before. They may be more able to estimate than someone else. And by sharing that and having that conversation, we get, and this is why we estimate in groups rather than just individually. We share information and we often end up with a better outcome. Right, what I'd like to do is to bring everyone's attention to this section. I'd like you guys just to spend a few moments sharing what you currently understand about estimation and why we do it. So on the post-it notes, just double click at any post-it note, double left click, and you can type on those post-it notes and share your thoughts. So why do we estimate? What do you understand about estimation, and what challenges have you faced when estimating?
If we do run out of sticky notes, on the left-hand side, you have a toolbar where you can access sticky notes, or you can click the letter N as a shortcut and then place a sticky note.
Absolutely. Or you can Control-C, Control-V, and copy and paste them very easily.
I got one question on the Miro. I got a lot of, the cursors and names are moving. How can I hide them?
Good question. So at the top of your screen, you'll see 3 little circles and a number saying how many people there are. To the
Yeah.
far left-hand side, there's an icon, a blue cursor pointing upwards and to the left with a couple of dashes. If you press that, it will hide everyone else's cursors.
Great. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I tend to keep it on because I like seeing the chaos, but it can get a bit in people's way, so I understand it. So, what do we understand about estimation? It's freaking difficult. It helps teams plan, it's a best guess, relative experiences are shared, inaccurate and subjective. We get an idea of how much we can do in the next sprint. It allows us to guesstimate. It's a guess. And that allows a common understanding of effort. It's a fancy name for guessing. Here's a question. What often happens with estimates in your experience? Anyone want to share what happens with their experience? What happens with estimates?
They're seen as gospel and deadlines.
They're seen as deadlines. As soon as you give an estimate, it becomes a deadline. Terrible behaviour. I always like to refer back to the fact that deadline is a term that came from the American Civil War, and it referred to a line where if people crossed outside of a prison, they would be shot. How that made it into business language, I have no idea. But estimates are exactly that. They are what you believe to be true based on your current information, and they are unreliable, especially if you haven't been doing it for very long, especially if there's lots of unknowns about something. They should be a current understanding of things, and they should be subject to change based on new data coming in, new learning, new information. What challenges we faced? There's no value to the customer when we estimate. It's hard to get consensus. We often underestimate, we often overestimate. I love that meme. I shared that on my LinkedIn a little while ago. Dr. Evil laughing away. It's inaccurate. They become a deadline. It's always linked to time, often can be. And sometimes every team just don't want to estimate. Very true. Okay, what we're going to do is... Oh, I think we've maybe missed something. But we're going to get you guys... What have I done here? Oh. We're going to get you guys over to here. Now, I'd prepared this based on teams of 6. But we have... How many have we got today? Dan, do some math for me, please. 25 people? 25 people. So we're going to need at least 4 teams. So I'm going to have to duplicate this quickly. Again, annoyingly, the one day that I hadn't prepared for teams of 4, groups of 4 is the day we need it.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm not blaming you. You are all welcome. It's just hilarious that I've been running this for several months, and this is the one time it happens. So, what we're going to be doing...
You didn't estimate correctly.
Ironically, I estimated incorrectly.
No, he did, but estimate was wrong.
Well, annoyingly, I used my estimates based on my past velocity, based on the number of attendees at previous meetups, and it was based on what I accurately believe to be true, but even then it can be proven wrong.
You're making excuses now, Chris. That's it.
I'm making excuses, but I'm demonstrating that it can easily happen. So the aim of this game is to go through 3 rounds of estimation. What I'd like you guys to do is divide yourselves up into groups of 6. You can see on the board here, you've got Team Mario, Team Sonic, Team Pac-Man, and Team Link. If you put your name inside these post-it notes, that will allow us to start separating into teams. I'm then going to prepare the other part of the board that I need to do. Just a moment. So you guys do that whilst I do a bit of extra prep. Dan, if you wouldn't mind helping facilitate the people group get into groups whilst I just sort this out quickly.
Sure. So we have most people have gone for Mario and Sonic so far. Pac-Man and Link are looking a little bit empty. So if people haven't already picked a group, if you want to assign yourself to one of those 2. If anyone's having difficulty writing their names on the board, then put something in the chat on meat butter and I can write you down for you.
It's only butter now.
It's butter, yeah, they've changed the name. It's just butter.
They have.
They've dropped the meat. This is new information as of this week.
It's crazy. But the link that says meat butter still works, which is just even more confusing.
Oh
I mean,
dear, what
sure,
happened
sure,
here?
that's a good experience, right? You don't want to land on the website and find out it doesn't exist anymore. You get redirected to the new one.
Just gonna move that back to the left. So Team Link's still looking a bit lonely. Has anyone not been assigned to a team yet? Otherwise, I'm going to have to look through all the names individually. Let's see.
Oh, we've got a bit of background noise. If you wouldn't mind going on mute unless you're speaking, please. There we go. Just muted that a moment. Okay. So whilst there we go, just muted that. So what I'm going to do is just allow everyone to share and see what I'm seeing right now. There are 4 spaces to play in. So the top left-hand corner is where Team Mario is going to meet, the top left-hand console. The top right-hand console is Team Sonic. The bottom left console is Team Pac-Man. The bottom right console is Team Link. So you will need to navigate your way to those spaces. I'm just going to freeze them a second because I can see people moving them by mistake. So once everyone is in those spaces, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable the breakout rooms, and I'll be looking to send you into those breakout rooms accordingly so that you can play each round. Each round of estimating, as I said, scales in complexity. So in the first round, as a team, you're looking to estimate in story points the size of some fruit. So what I'll do, I'm just going to enable estimation. Has everyone got their teams? How are we looking? All right, Team Link is looking a little short by the looks of it. It might be that Pete and Kim, if you could perhaps observe and jump into another room and just help them out, so we'll have a couple of larger teams. So maybe we'll put Kim, I'm going to put you in Team Pac-Man and Pete in Team Sonic. Okay. So I'm going to enable these breakout rooms now. Now, what you'll see on your screen is the breakout room button appear. And you should be able to select your team's breakout room. So, can anyone see that appear at the top of your screen where it's on the meat butter screen? There is a drop down where it says main room. If you press that drop down, you can select your team accordingly.
It's definitely there as people are dropping into them.
Yep, I can see people disappearing. So Dan, if you wouldn't mind just flitting in back and forth in between the rooms.
Yeah. Anyone's in particular you want me to go to?
You go in Sonic, I'll go in Mario, and then I'm going to jump into Pac-Man afterwards.
Cool. Sounds good. See you in a bit.
So Elaine, Alex, Vina, Renshu, Sunil, and Smita, are you okay with finding the breakout rooms?
Now I found it.
Perfect.
Team Nick.
Can you hear? Chris, can you hear me? I can't
Yes,
get
seem
into
to be
the
doing
room.
anything from there, done it.
You got it? All right, so there should be there's 4
Yeah,
little
thank you.
boxes, 4 little boxes on your screen.
Yeah.
And if you press that, it says main room. If you press that button, it's like a drop down, press down. You can then select your room accordingly and choose the room that you were allocated to based on where your post-it was.
I was not allocated any room. Can I get into any room then?
Just pick any room. Pick any room.
Okay,
Maybe
perfect.
go in Mario or Sonic. They look smaller on numbers.
Okay, I'll go into Mario. Thank you.
No problem.
So raspberry is also a 1 raspberry? Or would that be a 2?
Are we gonna copy and paste? Are we copying and pasting these numbers, or
I think
are we
we
just
have
using-
to.
Yeah,
Yes,
I would recommend you copy and paste the story point icons. I should have mentioned this before everyone broken out, but the story point icons on the left and just drag them into the appropriate cell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that
Perfect.
case, I reckon
And you-
probably
Thank you very much. Yeah.
No worries. I'll leave it to
yeah.
it.
The 13 for the pineapple.
Okay.
Right? Those are
What about
the
dragon fruit compared to pineapple?
easiest.
Ah.
What's
Yeah,
happening with the background?
It's not
Yeah,
locked.
it's
Should be locked down.
I've just locked it. So
Cool.
yeah, as you guys are already doing, I can see you are moving the story point images to the appropriate space. That's exactly what we're looking to do. So you got it. I'll leave you to it.
Cool. Okay, so what would be the next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think a grape is bigger than a raspberry too. So you think maybe raspberry is the smallest?
I would say.
I guess it's the size of the fruit, not the size of the amount of fruit you are going to use in your salad.
Right.
Because
I
this
think
is completely different.
yeah, list from the smallest to the largest. So
Okay.
If we started with the largest, because the largest seems more obvious.
okay.
Okay.
So
Is it?
watermelon.
Watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
Is that infinity?
But what's
For
a
20.
dragon fruit?
It's probably a little bigger than an apple, I think.
I think you're right.
Banana could be a 5 as well.
Yeah, could be a
Go.
5 as well.
That's it done.
Depends what banana it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just go for
the little ones as well.
Yeah, I know. I was just about to say that. So we'll just say that it's a normal standard banana. Unless Chris, is it one of those small bananas or is it a big banana? Tell us now.
It doesn't say. It just says banana. So I'm going to leave you guys
Oh,
to make your own decisions. When you think banana, do you usually think of a normal size one or a tiny one?
Yes, normal size one.
Yeah,
Normal
go
size,
with that. Right. It looks
I
like you guys.
think we've got it, guys.
Yeah, it looks like you guys are done. So jump into the main room again.
Awesome.
The timer's
I think
almost up
we
for
did.
everyone. So
Main room it is.
Oh, good effort.
Well done.
Yeah.
Really quick.
I think Kelly, it was good because what we did was we did the smallest and then we did the largest, and then after that, everything was really quick in between.
Yeah.
I
And once we
remember.
realized we could duplicate numbers.
Yeah. I remember when I did estimation with my team and I said, "Oh, we'll do it in order." Oh God, that was terrible. I was confused myself.
Banana's bigger than dragon fruit, then. We're saying.
But is it bigger though? It's just longer, isn't it? If you make that a round thing, would it be bigger than an apple? It's just long and slim, but with the mass of a banana.
right, so guys, I'm conscious of time.
I guess we put in.
How about
I'm
raspberry as?
gonna have to bring you back to the breakout. To the
How
main
about
room.
raspberry?
I'm gonna have to bring you guys back to the main room because we've got another team already finished waiting. Not to.
All right.
Just letting you know.
Oh, okay.
Kelly started talking.
I know, and this happens, but I'd like to bring everyone back to the main room. So I'll see you there in a moment.
Okay.
Okay.
See.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Right, I'm going to ask you guys to come back to the main room. This round has finished, so if you could jump back.
How are we gonna
into
come
the main
back,
breakout
Chris?
room, and then we'll be going back into these rooms in a moment for the second and third rounds.
How are we gonna come back, Chris?
So there is again at the top of your screen where it said Team Pac-Man. You should now be able to select, drop down, and say Return to Main Room. Or back to Main Room. There's a button in the top right corner. In fact, I could just end the breakout. Hang on.
So leave, is it?
Yeah, I'm just ending it now, so you should land there automatically.
Yeah, it is.
Our group, we just made Kelly in charge. So Kelly, you're the leader of the pack. So whatever you
I
say,
did not
goes.
volunteer this.
All right,
I don't feel like
so-
this is a safe space.
Right, so everyone's back. So the question I have again, how do we find that round?
Yeah.
I think our team Mario, we found it pretty easy because we had a technique and we stuck to that. We had a range, and then we just discussed it, and that was it.
What was your technique?
Our technique was do the smallest one and then do the largest one.
Okay, so you
And now
found
we've got the range.
Yeah, you found a frame of reference, and then you use that to shape the rest of them accordingly.
Yeah.
Common
We did
estimation
get a
technique. Either pick the largest or pick the smallest, and then estimate everything else in comparison.
As I think we only got confused with the dragon fruit.
Okay.
But then I remember eating a dragon fruit a couple of months ago. Then I knew what it was.
All right, so we had one challenge with a fruit that less people knew about, but less people are aware of. So Mario finished this very quickly. How did other teams? Did other teams finish? Why not?
Almost.
Why didn't you finish?
You talk too much about the weather.
Right.
I guess we're nice. We have small talk.
Okay, so team
Bananas confused it.
Banana was.
Some people can get confused by banana. Why did you
Yeah,
get confused by
bananas
banana?
confused it. Well, because we were like, well, are we going for weight, volume?
Okay.
And then we decided that we would go for length.
All right.
And then we could categorize it.
So that brings up another interesting point. It's someone's frame of reference that they use to begin with that influences estimation. So you guys went with length, but another team could have done the same exercise and gone with, well, we're going to go with weight or volume or how much space it takes up and things like that, because you can cluster them all together quite well compared to other fruit. So again, it depends on the frame of reference a team used.
Interestingly, Team Mario being the team that finished first, or the team that finished, are also the only team that had duplicate sizes for their estimates, where they said these two are pretty much the same thing, so they're both a 1.
Yeah, nothing wrong with
Whereas
that.
the other teams tried to go, which one is exactly bigger than the other one.
So what?
You see, I told you there was a catch there.
There's nothing wrong with that. What I like about this round, by the way, and I can see just awareness for the next round, people have started googling dogs. Please don't do that. That's cheating. I've seen some images appearing next to some of the dogs as frames of reference. Please don't do that.
Okay.
Anyway, what I was getting at is that you could do this exercise with multiple teams, and I've done this tons of times with lots of different teams. And in my experience, it's easy this round because, again, they are very tangible objects. Fruits are things we can hold in our hands. We know the relative size of them. No matter which teams no matter how many teams you do this with, often they will still come to a consensus that the smallest one is a grape or a raspberry, the largest one is a watermelon, everything else scales in between. There's usually no disparity on that. What might vary is one team might say a banana is a 3, an orange is a 3 because that's the frame of reference they started with, but that's okay. It doesn't matter that there are variables. It doesn't matter that it took one team longer than another because they each approach things in different ways, and that's okay. We're not looking to compare estimates between teams because every team has started with a different frame of reference. Now, again, the reason this one's easy is because it's tangible. These are things that everyone knows about. But the next round, slightly more complex. So we're going to have 5-minute rounds. I'll open up the breakout rooms again. In this round, you're still with your same teams. In this round, you are estimating the complexity, not the size, the complexity involved in grooming a series of dogs. So imagine you're taking them to a crafts competition. You imagine they're show dogs and you're trying to get them to win first prize. You've got to groom them to that state. And you are estimating the complexity involved in grooming those dogs. Okay? So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms again. I invite you to jump into those rooms, work with your teams to estimate in the same way you did last time. You're estimating in story points, you're pulling the cards across to the appropriate cells. No Googling. None of that, please. You are working together as a team.
We need to use tools.
And on this occasion, I'm going to invite you not to use tools. I invite you to use the collective brain power of your team.
So we can't bend the rules then, no?
No, not on this occasion, no. So the breakout room should be appearing for you now. Make your way there. I'll set a timer for 5 minutes. I'll see you guys back there soon. Here soon.
Sorry?
Okay.
So that is a one. That is our.
I would say that's a 1.
Okay.
And which is the 21 then? Which is the longest or the dog with the most hair?
I think it might be the Bernese Mountain Dog. The Appalachian Mountain Dog, I have no idea. Does anyone else know what that is? I think Bernese Mountain Dogs have long hair or longish hair.
Yeah.
Appalachian Mountain Dog, I'm not sure.
So we'll go with that one then. So I'll go with you, Kelly, because you seem to have a bit more knowledge.
Having had dogs for a while, there is one question I'd ask, which is I have a very similar to a mountain dog, absolutely lovely dog, no problems grooming him. I went near a poodle once and almost had my hand bitten off.
Poodles are big though, aren't they? So in stature.
Question mark. So maybe we can use that this time for a beagle because I don't know what a beagle is.
A beagle is
Oh,
a
a beagle.
very small dog. It's a small Great Dane, basically.
It is. It's similar, yeah.
with long ears.
Short fur and
I
long.
would say
So the bulldog has folds, right? So that would complicate things, wouldn't it?
True.
We'll give that a...
So then it
I
would
would
be
say
a
beagle's next.
Eagle, right?
yeah. Something like this.
Oh, the Great Dane's pretty big.
You can get big.
Yeah.
But then
The
Great
poodle-
Danes have slobbery. They're always slobbery.
And which one would be the hardest then? Maybe that's easier. Would that be the poodle?
I don't know about the two mountain dogs.
Nope.
I know what a Bernese one is, and they would take a lot of work.
Walnut poodle?
Because they're like enormous and very hairy.
Very hairy.
Yeah, and that should be.
Nate, there's somebody. Yep.
Yeah. German Shepherds and Golden Retrievers are about the same. They both have medium length hair. And they're biggish dogs.
So like
Would that be 13?
Biggish dog.
Yeah. Any ideas on the
Guys?
Appalachian Mountain Dog? Any ideas if that's got hair or not? Great Danes have got short hair. They're minimal effort. They're just a big dog. So
what
I'd
would
make
it
that
be?
like
2?
I'd make that like a 3.
A 3?
Max. Just
3.
because of the size of it, maybe.
So I'm just interested. What are the criteria you guys are using to determine whether something's complex to groom?
Short hair, small is least complex.
Okay.
Long hair, big is the most complex.
Sure.
And then trying to work out the size of the dog and the length of the hair somewhere in the middle is just a little bit in it.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Sounds like you guys got a
Like
good approach.
the thing with the short hair dogs is really there's nothing you can do with them. You can cut their hair, I guess, give them a wash.
What is the mountain dog then? What's a mountain dog?
I'm gonna guess it's a big dog because a Bernese Mountain Dog's a big dog. I just don't know the length of its hair.
Could it be, those like dogs that see in movies? I watched a movie and it had one of those big dogs, and it was
Saint Bernard.
We need a spike.
I
You need
think
a spike.
Appalachian
Oh, I
Mountain
love
Dog is
it. What do you need a spike on?
Investigating the dog and the requirements.
Okay.
And what hairstyle it needs.
Interesting. I like it. This is a good approach. It's a good approach because again, I often coach teams if they don't know the answer, don't estimate. Just say, all right, we're going to break it into a spike. We're going to do some investigation first, and then we'll estimate. Because again, what will happen is if you estimate based on a guess or something like that, you have no idea. That becomes a deadline. That sets bad expectations. I'd always just say, put a question mark. I'm not sure right now. Nothing wrong with that. So, how are you guys getting on? Are you almost done?
Yeah.
Yep.
Happy with what you've done?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Go for it, right? I'll see you guys in the main room.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right, gang. How are we doing?
We're
We're done.
finished.
Finished?
We're done.
We're done, yes.
Can you go mark our homework, please?
You'll be marked. You're gonna mark your homework in the main room in a moment. So if everyone can jump into the main room, I'll see you there in a moment.
Just to let you know, Chris, we are the best team, by the way.
All right, I haven't seen evidence of that yet, but over time, I'm sure I will.
These dogs are just like, nope, don't like it. Don't want to be anywhere near me.
Right, guys, how you getting on?
Good.
Well, we're getting led
We're fine.
astray. That's what's happening here.
Being led astray, right. Time's up, I'm afraid. If I can gather you guys are in the main room, I'm going to end the breakout room, and I'll see you in a moment.
Okay.
See you,
See.
sir.
See you soon.
Yep.
I baited I'm lazy enough to just let it count down and go automatically.
Yes, entrepreneurship.
We are in the part of Shohari.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I want to make everyone aware. It's really important that I do this. Team Mario have staked their claim. They believe they're the best team. Although,
Oh, wow.
they believe they're the best team. Okay. Now I know they had some seeming success in the first round because they finished quicker, but quicker doesn't always mean best. Let's have a look at what Team Mario came up with for their estimates for the complexity of grooming dogs. So
Yeah, but we are producing quality as well at the same time.
are you? Let's just check that, shall we? I'm gonna mark
These are fighting words,
you
my
asked me
friends.
to mark your homework, right?
Let's just look.
I've got a question. Can anyone tell me what an Appalachian Mountain Dog is?
No.
I think it's a dog. They use it for sledge, sleighing in the mountains, like a dog.
Any other thoughts? I will let you know.
There's a Disney movie made about one of those dogs.
Is there? Okay, so I'll let you know that two teams estimated Appalachian Mountain Dog. One team estimated 13, one team estimated 20, and one team put a question mark. Why did you put a question mark, Team Pac-Man?
Because we didn't know.
Because you didn't
We
know.
needed to explore.
Because you didn't know. And guess what, guys? Appalachian Mountain Dog doesn't exist. I made it up. Right? So for Team Mario, who was so certain that you were the best, actually, what you should have done is just admit you don't know the answer and put a question mark. Do a spike, break it into a spike, investigate first, come back with a realistic answer when you have that information. Don't just chuck an estimate.
Actually, we're Mario, we're colorblind. We're supposed to put a question mark there, but that's what it was. We put the wrong question.
Okay. Now, I love pointing that out because lots of teams do it. Even experienced professionals who, they've estimated loads and loads. They'll just guess. And we came back to one of the problems of estimating earlier on was it's often based on subjective information. It's often taken as a deadline. If we just guess, we give that back to someone, they'll take it as a deadline, and then it'll become some baton to hit you with when you don't hit it. Honestly, if you ever get to a point where you're not sure, just say so. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with admitting, being vulnerable. You don't have the information right now. We'll come back to you when we've done a bit of investigation. No harm in that. Where was the complexity involved in this round compared to the previous one?
We didn't know much about dogs.
All right, so some teams don't know much about dogs. Okay, so again, the team's understanding of the topic in mind, very crucial to estimating. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, our team approached it as the more hair, the more difficult.
Okay.
The hairier, the more difficult.
Size, over here, size doesn't matter. Actually, if you look at nature, the dog as well.
All right, so there's three things there someone's mentioned. So we've got size of the dog, length of the hair, and its temperament, its nature. You could have the tiniest dog in the world, but if it doesn't let you touch it because it's so energetic and runs around all the time, it's harder to groom maybe a bigger dog that is just docile and will just sit there and do as it's told. And then you've got certain animals have really complex hairstyles. Think of a poodle. You often have to style it a certain way and things like that. That adds another layer of complexity because you've got to style it in a certain way, not just groom it and brush it, but you've got to position it compared to lots of other ones. So there are more variables in play here when we're estimating the complexity involved in grooming dogs. Again, the subject matter, quite known about. Lots of people know about dogs because people love dogs. But some of these dogs are less known about. There are cultural variations where someone won't know a series of dogs because they're not as well known in that part of the world. And in general, some people don't know anything about dogs and they are reliant entirely upon the team collective knowledge to help them through this. Any other challenges we noted in this round?
What about the type of hair of the dog?
The type of hair of the dog? Could you
Then
elaborate?
yeah. I assume you mean like straight hair versus curly hair versus different layers of coats.
If it's really dense, or if you've got a dog that is matted, or yeah, the type of hair of the dog.
Yeah, it's a valid point. You don't know what the state of the dog is. Is it completely unkempt and has never been brushed or groomed, or is it something that's regularly groomed? You don't know what the state of the animal is in. Another element to think about. Right.
Would you also take into consideration the environment? So where you're grooming that dog. So if it's in a doggy salon, or if it's in, if it's running around in a park and you have to catch it.
You may well. I didn't specify that in this context. If you're grooming a dog, I would have assumed that you'd be doing so from home, and therefore you might have to leverage certain techniques. I know some people do. Some people get their dog in a bath, put peanut butter on the wall, and they lick the peanut butter, and then they're staying still while they groom them. Apparently that's a trick for doing it. Anyway, great work there, guys. Final round. Let's see who is really is the best team. Final round. This time you're estimating countries. And the variable you're estimating is their population size. Again, in story points, their population size, not their landmass. So, same teams as before. You're still estimating in story points, but this time you're estimating the population size. I will open the breakout rooms. And off you go. And again, we'll have 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up with a discussion about what we've observed. The breakout room should be starting now. Team Mario, it's time to make amends for your bold statements. Redeem yourselves.
I think it was a very smart movie. He had to
Yeah,
drive.
it was.
He had to drive home the point, and that's why there he is. So he had to.
And actually, it was a very good point. If you don't know, put a question mark. And you're right. We should not take things face value. And Chris, well spotted. Lesson learned. I was going to swear then, but I won't say it. That was a good one. That was a good one.
I had to, if we're a group of professionals who are coaching teams to do this often, we've got to bear this in mind. Don't allow people to estimate if they don't know, or challenge them.
The thing is, you're right. You're right. I mean, I do it day in, day out. If you don't know it, just put a question mark and we'll come back to it. But, yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Okay, so
Anyway, on to the next.
yeah, which country do you think is the one that has less people, less inhabitants? Probably
I think
Liechtenstein.
the largest is China.
Definitely.
Definitely China.
And then India as well.
I reckon China and
as well.
India should both be 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only
India's about
100,000
1.5
between them.
billion. India's about 1.5 billion. I think
China's 1.4 and India's 1.3.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yes,
that's about it.
total both. Which is the smallest one then, guys?
Sounds like you got an expert.
Luxembourg, I think.
Liechtenstein is the smallest country, so by that it's probably.
See one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then give it to India next to 20.
Yeah. If China is 20, then we should be 19.5. Which is
And
just below them.
19.7.
By the time we finish this estimation, we would be similar then.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you say China should be?
Oh, infinite.
Infinity.
Yeah.
Infinity. Interesting.
Or just as the largest one.
But I guess that's not what it
largest-
signifies in an actual estimation, right? It signifies
Yes.
that it's just too big that we cannot estimate it.
Yeah, so I think infinity doesn't fit for China. I would say it's 20.
So we'll get. Okay.
I think
But
20
then A less.
I don't think so. I think Denmark is bigger.
I think Denmark is bigger. Belize is very small. It's close to Guatemala.
Luxembourg and Liechtenstein.
Ooh, that leaves us with like 3 small countries.
Okay,
Hmm.
so now it's what you said.
Right.
Belize is bigger than Luxembourg and Liechtenstein.
I would say that.
I mean,
Dino-
Liechtenstein is tiny, isn't it?
I think Luxembourg's the next biggest in population. Or maybe you can make them both zeros if you want to. Let's run
We
out of
run
cards.
out of the so Luxembourg is the same as Belize or Liechtenstein.
I think Liechtenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Or 5?
I think it's a 3, yeah?
Yeah.
It has around 5 million, I think, of inhabitants in Denmark.
Guys, can I put 2 for Luxembourg? What do you think?
I'm
I
fine.
think Luxembourg should stay a 1.
Luxembourg is 606, nearly. I reckon about half a mil.
The thing is
Half
that
a mil.
I think 1 or 2 would not make a difference so much if you think about our agile lives. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I think any country with less than 1 million population is tiny.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
I know in England, here in the UK, we are a population of 70 million.
70 million. So that's
I know that England is bigger than South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you South African, Kelly?
I sure am.
Yeah, because my wife's South African. I can tell the accent. I hear it all the time.
Is Spain then same as England? Kind of similar group, let's say. It's bigger.
Is
Spain?
Spain are you talking about?
But I don't know about the population of Spain. You can put them in probably the same group.
Probably they are, yeah, the same.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd say around the same.
Yeah. Oh, looks good.
I think my knowledge on population sizes has definitely increased during the coronavirus pandemic, like monitoring the stats.
Are you guys done, you think?
Yeah, I think what we did was we did a collective team effort and we found out the smallest country here on that list was Belize. I think with Kelly's experience looking at coronavirus statistics constantly, wink, wink, Kelly.
All right, jump into the main room then, guys. Have you done?
Thank you.
Yes.
Are we the best team now, Chris?
Good team effort.
We'll have a look. We'll have a look.
Yeah.
Very good.
Looks good.
Yep.
All done, guys?
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
All right, jump into the main one then.
Right.
I'll then break out.
Oh, where's the option gone?
Oh, it's
Oh,
happening
you
Yeah.
already
automatically.
knocked over.
You're being kicked out automatically, don't worry.
I'm living in New Zealand and Australia, so I think my accent's a complete mixture now.
Okay.
Guys, how do we find that compared to the previous rounds?
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
your den dogs, let's say.
What made it easier from your perspective?
The people got a bit of knowledge of population in the country, so that's why, compared to the dogs.
I think with our team was, because due to COVID, people looking at statistics constantly, so many websites giving out constant statistics, so it was a lot easier. But we had to clarify first that every single country actually existed, and you weren't pulling our leg.
It's a great thing to think about, because I will sneak things in there. But this is actually a really poignant thing to point out, is that when I first started doing this game years ago, far fewer people knew about the population size of countries because they weren't aware and exposed to it continuously because of COVID. So it's fascinating that people have gotten better at this round, or find this round easier compared to the dog round sometimes. Again, what I observe on this game, or in this round, is typically, I'm just going to mute, hold on a sec, just while I'm subconscious of a bit of background noise. What you tend to observe in this round compared to previous ones is that, yeah, we tend to observe in this round compared to previous ones is that countries are far less tangible. They're big, and often we think of a country and we think of the landmass of it, because we're exposed to a world map more than we are the population size. If we were doing this and I said, right, estimate the size of the country on landmass, which country would be number one? Is it on the list?
Russia.
Russia. It's not on the list. Yeah, Russia. As I said, the fact that it's less tangible makes it more difficult. Interestingly, many teams often vote for China and India as either the same, or some teams vote China larger. I'm just going to have a quick look at the other teams. So Pac-Man both voted India and China the same, so did Mario. And, interestingly, so Team Sonic went for China as infinite. What was the reason behind that?
It was bigger than any other card we had.
It was bigger. Okay. Do you know the difference in population size between China and India?
I think it's 200.
300.
We estimated.
It's less than 100,000 people.
Really?
Yeah.
100,000.
India has 1.38 billion people. China has 1.439 billion people. So actually, those two far closer to each other than some of the others that you guys have estimated. So if we were to look at, Liechtenstein, tiny, but compared to India, ridiculously small. So there's actually there's an argument in this one for saying India and China are your 20s, and everything else below a certain value is always a 1, because they're so small in comparison. And because you've got these really large ones and these really tiny ones in the mix, because they're relative estimates, theoretically you should have China and India as either your large ones or your infinites, and the rest of them tiny. But it's interesting to see what happens. I guess what I like to remind people when we're playing these rounds of estimations is, it doesn't matter what other teams have estimated. There's no, I don't believe in comparing between teams. Story points and velocity and things like that, they are irrelevant as a comparative tool. It's purely a method for the team to understand their own capacity and their own ability to forecast what they can achieve next. It's not for any management or senior person to say this team does 25 points and this team does 30. That one's better than that team, because as we've observed, people use a different frame of reference, and they use different levels of perspective and different levels of experience to estimate. You could have had a team in this, and I could have compared between 3 teams today, and there could have been a team that were experts in dogs and a team that were experts in country sizes, and they could have come up with very different estimates accordingly, because their teams are comprised of different people, different levels of experience. Just like we have junior members on teams and senior members on teams, and sometimes there's hit teams that are put together of experienced people, and their estimates might differ from a team that's comprised mostly of junior people. It varies so much depending on the frame of reference originally chosen. Now, conscious of time, I'm going to bring everyone to the wrap-up section of this game, where we just reflect on a few things. So what have we learned about estimation? What challenges do you think you will face when estimating, back with teams? Any additional questions you still have about estimating, and any feedback you have about this game in particular? And again, we can always get you more post-it notes if you need them. So do share your thoughts silently for a few moments, and then we can talk through some of these things. And then based on time, we're probably only going to have enough time for the monster workshop to finish us off. The other games are a bit larger. We wouldn't be able to meaningfully do them. But they can always be done at a future arcade session. All right, so what are we seeing in the what have we learned about estimation? It's okay to not have the answer. If there was one thing I could leave you guys with, it would be that message. It's okay. When you're asked in a meeting full of 20 people, what's the answer to this, and you just don't know, just say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Same with estimation. If you don't have an answer, not sure, I'd rather a team go away and do a bit of digging, come back with something that they can stand by, than push them into estimating just for the sake of estimating. Collaboration above ego, absolutely. Estimates are better when a group of people work together. If anyone's read the book Rebel Ideas by Matthew Syed, he talks a lot about cultural diversity and the importance of it, and talks about how a group of lesser educated people can often produce better estimates than a smaller individual working group of experts in a field. Again, it's easier if the team have worked together before. So did you find, here's a question, as you through each round, did you find that your ability to estimate was improved because you had that shared exposure to one another?
Yeah.
You had the same frame of reference, you had the same ideas, you had the same starting point, same techniques being applied. What challenge do you think?
I think we also noticed, Chris, that personalities were coming through as well, and as the team were gelling, conversation were coming through as well.
So in a microcosm, this should demonstrate that repeated rounds of estimate. This is like doing 3 mini sprints, right, or 3 mini estimates. Each round, ideally, we're seeing improvement. The teams gelling a bit together, learning from one another, familiarizing themselves with one another. Same happens when we kick off new teams. At the starting point, they're going to be new to one another. Things are going to be a bit ill-practiced. They're learning to get shared terms of reference and things like that. Challenges we'll face then. So time boxing sessions, too much time estimating, arguing over estimates. They're always relative. Comparing many variables, lacking hidden information, finding creative ways of estimating. And everyone has different knowledge and experience. So what do we think we could do to address some of these? How could you address a situation where everyone has different knowledge and experience? Simply practicing estimating as a group. You'll share perspectives, share learnings, share understandings. Dan may be better able to estimate the size of a certain place he's been to because he's been there versus me who hasn't, and therefore us talking about it and conversing about it and sharing our experiences helps improve our understanding, and vice versa.
Common frames of reference are always good. I mean, that's half the reason we use story points and relative estimation in the first place, is that we can get some common ground and agree from there.
Absolutely. I can see this has been moved by mistake, so hold on. Let's just correct that. Just isn't locked. Okay. What questions do you have about estimating? Should we estimate bugs? Someone has put here, same as bugs, we cannot estimate uncertainty. So I would agree with that. Same with bugs. A spike yeah, it's a little bit unknown. All I tend to do with a spike is say, right, commit a few hours or a time period, and just say after that we are aiming to have the information we have. And if we don't, we either add more time to it, or we say, right, we've gotten to a point where we've got enough information now. We either can estimate or we can't. And same with bugs. Bugs are a tricky one. It would be difficult to estimate a bug because you don't know the problem. You are given a set of variables by the person who's reported the bug, and usually it's kind of timestamp and the user account used, and especially if we're talking software. But it's unknown until you've done the investigation. So it would be difficult to estimate a bug. You can estimate the resolution of a bug once you've done the root cause analysis, but not the bug in general until you've gotten to the point of understanding what caused it or what the issue is. Forecasting. What's the question here about forecasting?
It's like if a stakeholder comes and asks, like, oh, I've got 8 user stories or this many things. When can you deliver this? So how do we give a specific idea of how, or like, when do we deliver this work, or how can we forecast or estimate or give them an estimate? How can we do it? Is also something.
Sure. So again, I tend to recommend teams use their own velocity to gauge this, and obviously that improves over time. If you've got a situation where a team hasn't got a velocity yet, then ultimately it is just an estimate at that time. And as long as you frequently re-engage with that stakeholder and keep them abreast of your latest forecast based on how you're learning, then they tend to be okay with that. But yeah, velocity is often a great predictor of when you can do things. If you know a team can achieve 25 points in a sprint and they're asking for when will these 25 points be done, you can say to them, well, if they are the top priority, then the next sprint. If they are lower priority, then this one will be done there and this one will be done there. This is our forecast as when it'll be there. So I tend to use velocity based forecasting. Okay, what else have we got? Feedback in the session, brilliant session. Team Mario were awesome. Team Sonic for the win. Excellent use of visuals. Learn while playing. Thanks. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm all about. This is what the arcade is about. The Agile Arcade is all about learning while playing. It's about there's a great quote I often refer back to. I think it's attributed to Benjamin Franklin and paraphrased from Confucius, and it talks about how if you teach someone something they remember, if you teach someone something they probably will remember, but if you involve someone, they'll learn. So this is what it's all about for me. Is I tend to use the 4 C's as a teaching concept, and gamification and involving people in the process tends to help me enable people to learn better. Right, conscious of time then, we are going to, with the remaining time, jump into the monster workshop. And I want to show this to you guys because I think it's just a bit of fun. And it's great for either as an icebreaker or as you can use this for lots of different methods, I think, lots of different forms. So how it works is you've got all of these, I've brought everyone to my screen, you've got all of these little boxes, little basically spaces for you to create things, and you've got all these little objects, shapes, patterns to create your own little monster. So you could do this at the start of a workshop, at the start of a session, at the start of a retrospective. You could say to the team, hey guys, create a monster that you think personifies the last iteration. Or and then they'll just pull something together, and you can either do it individually and they can create like a group of monsters, or they can do it as a collaborative session. So if you scroll down a little bit further, there is a space where you can put monsters together as a group. So the challenge I'm going to give to you guys is to create a monster mascot for the Agile Arcade. So you've got lots of shapes, lots of images. You can either choose to create your own individual monsters and then put them forth and we can vote on them. Or the other option is you can work together as one large group and create a single monster. It's up to you. And you're basically using copy and paste, drag and drop from these spaces to the right. And at the top here, you've got lots of little eyes and shapes and outfits and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, choose however you want to do it. Grab yourself a little space, put your name underneath it, and create your monster, and then bring it forth into the collaborative space. And maybe we can vote on the one at the end that we think best personifies the Agile Arcade as a monster.
Breakout rooms, Chris. Okay.
This, by the way, is a freely accessible Miroverse template. So you can basically, as long as you've got a Miro account, you can create a version of this very, very easily and just load it up with a team before a meeting, at the end of a session, however you want to do. I tend to like the personify this event, personify how you're feeling, personify how this iteration went, and just get people to play and create. And it tends to get people opening up a little bit, I find.
I think what would be a good icebreaker is that if you ask the team to create a monster that personifies the product owner.
I mean, if you've got a very psychologically safe space there, and the team feel comfortable doing that, I mean, I would quite happily go into meetings and say, hey guys, personify me as an agile coach and see what comes up, because I don't mind. People can say what they like about me and it will just bounce off. But I think that would be it could be a fun way of doing it.
Are we going into breakout rooms?
No, it's just free form now. Free form. That's what I'm saying. You can do your monsters individually and then copy and paste and bring them down to the collaborative section at the bottom. It sounds like that look, by the looks of things, that's what people are going for. So what we're going to end up with is lots of different suggestions, and then we can do a dot vote on which one we think is the best Agile Arcade monster.
Chris, you said this monster workshop in Miro is free?
Yeah, it is.
So where is the link for that?
I'll grab it for you.
Right.
I'll share it in the chat. I need to get around to publishing a lot of my templates on the Miroverse, including the Agile Arcade at some point. All of these games you're playing today, by the way, if you would like to use them with your teams, just let me know. We can make a copy available to you. Chat now is the link to the Monster Workshop Miroverse entry.
Is there a Miro version of this, or is it just a Miro?
This is just a Miro. I think there is. I'm not sure if there is an equivalent of the Miroverse in Mural. I know there are templates you can get. And I tend to create. I've got a room full of my retro templates, so I do lots of themed retros. But I don't know if they've gotten to the point of having a kind of community-driven space that the Miroverse, like the Miroverse, yeah. All right, got some interesting monsters coming up.
There's a website called Bordle.io. It has basically templates from all the whiteboards.
Okay.
Mural boards.
Okay.
Mural, Miro, and many other ones.
I haven't checked that out. I have to take a look.
It's like community driven.
What's the website, Yossi?
Bordle. I put it in the chat.
Oh, Bordle.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look through that.
That's quite good, actually.
You
Is it free? Is it free, Yasser?
Yep, it is.
You learn something new all the time. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, very cool. I know some of these people as well.
So, Chris, if you need these games to play with our team, we need to get a copy of Miro from you.
So Miro is obviously a paid platform. If you have a Miro account that you already own, that you already subscribe to, then and you want any of the games that I've talked about today, I can make a copy of the templates for those games available to you.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I got the Miro account actually, but if you can create the copy of the template, that'd be nice.
Yeah, just let me know which game it is you're looking to use, and I can share them. I
mean, I like the estimation one, the one we did today. That'd be nice.
Right, so how are the monsters looking? If you think you've finished your monster, drag it down to the collaboration station. We've got one that's like a many-legged, many-eyed creature. We've got looks like a ball. It looks like a fluffy sponge. Got one that looks like an ice cream cone with eyes. One that looks like the color of Sully from Monsters Inc. Right, I'm just gonna mute whoever that is because it's unfortunately there's a little background noise there. How about now? My meat butter was being a little bit slow. Sorry, butter. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to do, we have the option to vote is going to appear in just a moment. I'm going to allow you guys to vote on the best monster that represents the Agile Arcade. And you'll vote using the little blinkies that I've just dragged to the bottom of the screen. To drag those little Pac-Men against the one that you like, or next to the one you like most. And that will be our winning Agile Arcade mascot. I'm going to vote myself. I quite like that one. So 5 votes so far for the Sully-looking Monsters Inc. one. Oh, we've got 5 for the... I'm not sure how to describe that. Three-eyed beastie. 6 for the three-eyed beastie. Might just be our winner. Who's just the three-eyed beastie on the left? Anyone going to take ownership for it? Who created that one?
Oh my God, it's a monster. It created itself.
It created itself. It's sentient. It's sentient. It created itself. The Agile Arcade has gone into this, has reached the singularity and has, using AI, created itself. Amazing.
Wow.
Right.
The creator might be on mute.
The creator might be on mute. Possibly so. Anyway, that's a very simple template that you can use just to energize a session, just to get people thinking in an abstract way. I often quite like it as a what did the last sprint look like, or what's this certain meeting look like, and get people to think in different ways. And yeah, you can tell if things look ugly and horrible, then to improve them. Right. To wrap this up then, because we are at the end of the session, I'm going to bring everyone's attention to me and just to here. So if you haven't connected with Dan or I yet, you can do so via LinkedIn. I've got a YouTube channel where I share these videos and lots of other videos about Miro, about Agile in general. I'm a big retrospective person. So yeah, do feel free to connect with us or via the YouTube channel and subscribe if you like the content. In terms of feedback for today, I've changed this slightly from those that have been before. So question, game over, would you play again? And you can use the little blinkies to rate on a scale of 1 up means yes, I would love to play again. Game over means no, I don't ever want to come again. Same with enjoy the Agile Arcade. If you put the blinky, the little Pac-Man icon closer to the 1 up, it means you've enjoyed the experience. Game over means you haven't enjoyed the experience. And lastly, there's a question there, what we'd like to see more or less of from this Agile Arcade, from these sessions. This will allow me and Dan to tailor the session, adjust it accordingly, ensure it's continuously improving, and ensure it's giving value to those that attend, to our fellow gamers. right, so majority at the upper end of the scale, so I'm happy to see that. Love the variety of games, love the flow of the games. Good to hear. Possibly just one game, yeah. Part 2, so we can play more games. Well, for anyone who enjoys this, we do these sessions every 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, there is another edition of the arcade. More games will be played, a newer audience, different people. So you are always welcome. The reason I do these regular sessions is because I enjoy doing agile games, and for me the offerings out there, they weren't frequent enough. You can go to Play 14 and they might be every few months, and there's a few other gaming sessions I know that happen, but they weren't frequent enough for me, so I decided to create it. Now, the other thing that this session is for, if you want to come along and host a game yourself, let me know. If you want to experiment with a game that you've never worked with before, come along, try it. You are welcome. It doesn't have to be about just me and Dan hosting games. We welcome other game masters too.
You need to have your annual GameCon or whatever they call it.
GameCon. Yeah, I can't get what you mean.
I think there's one called Play for Agile or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I attended one.
Well, maybe if it gets big enough, I'll arrange a big event. But at the moment, we tend to get anything between 10 and 25, 30 people at these sessions. Usually on the smaller end of the scale, hence why I'd scaled the games today accordingly, assuming we'd have a group of about 15. But in the past, I've usually planned for it to be 30 or more, but we don't usually tend to get that many. You can never gauge or really know when 50 people say yes on Meetup, however many will actually turn up, because life gets in the way. People get busy. People have. I think the other challenge is that we've got a wealth of options now. So there's so many Meetup events going on that are all free and virtual. It's easier to go, well, we've got this other one, I'm going to go to that one tonight.
Now, Chris, do you do any of these games? I mean, one of these days, COVID will be behind us. Any of these type of in-person games, or are you going to stay virtual this whole, beyond?
So my whole persona is the virtual agile coach, which means in general, I try to enable everything to be done remotely. However, I have done these games in person before and pre-COVID. I created an Agile escape room where people learned about the Agile Manifesto through an escape room concept. I've done lots. In fact, a lot of these games that we play at the arcade are physical games that I've converted into a virtual version using Miro. So as I mentioned, if I was doing a game around, I think I mentioned previously, if I was doing a game around technical debt, that would be personified by getting people to run back and forth, moving post-it notes from one side of the room to the other, whilst introducing chairs in their path to represent technical debt building up. Now, virtually, the way I've done this is by having a Miro board, same situation. You're trying to move post-it notes from one side of the board to the other to represent the workflow, but instead of chairs physically being in people's paths, you put like a maze and a labyrinth in the way that they have to move their way through, and that slows things down. As the maze gets more and more complex, that represents technical debt building up to the point that it becomes unmanageable and the workflow slows right down. So that's another game in the arcade that's may well get added sooner. I did have it on an earlier edition. It's quite a long game. It tends to be about 50 minutes. So it's one of those ones where you could only play that if you chose to come.
I currently have a few games that I've got in mind, which have all been done physically, and it's trying to recreate them virtually has been the challenge. But I've got some ideas. So Chris and I are doing a brainstorming session tomorrow to try and get some more of these down on paper, and well, down on the laptop at least.
Right, well, I won't hold you guys any longer. Thank you for the feedback. Vast majority of it has been very good. As I said, we'd love to have you along at a future arcade session. They are every 2 weeks. They're entirely free. Do reach out if there's any specific games you'd love to see. Do reach out if you'd like to host a game yourself. You're more than welcome. And thanks for playing with us this evening.
Great stuff,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Chris, Dan, see you
Bye.
later on. See you in 2 weeks, guys. Brilliant. Bye, 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 bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.